and welcome to Webinar Wednesday. Hope you guys are having a great Wednesday or a great Tuesday, depending on where you're joining from. So today we're going to be talking about your Amazon exit strategy, and we have Gary Huang from Seven Figure Seller Summit who's going to come over and talk to us about some of the things that he's learned interviewing seven-figure sellers for his summit. So Mark and Kevin, how's your week been so far?
Oh, good. We had Australia Day yesterday, so we had a bit of an odd day here because we've got a few people who don't believe we should have Australia Day, etc. So I won't go into that. So it was a funny Australia Day.
But busy. They're busy anyway.
Okay, were you at golf, Kevin?
Of course.
Of course.
Where else?
Awesome. Well, before we bring Gary on, we also want to tell people a little bit about the listing optimization workshop that we have coming up pretty soon. In fact, it's next week,
Yeah,
February 6th. Yes, February 6th and 13th. So this is a 2-day workshop that we are putting together that will help you optimize your Amazon listings. And it's going to be held over 2 days. The first day is February 6th, which is Saturday morning in Australia and Asia, and it's February 5th, which is Friday evening if you're joining from the US. And basically, the format is it's held over 2 days, and there's a gap of about a week between the 2 days. So you do the first day session. It's about a 3-hour session, and then you have time to absorb and rewatch the replay and just kind of get a good understanding of what was taught on day one. And then you have a week to ask your questions to the instructor, Verity Sewell. And then we'll do day 2 the following week, the same day, same time, Saturday, February 13th in the morning here in Asia and Australia. So it's a really good format. It's very engaging kind of format because it's a live workshop. It's not like a recorded course where you just go watch some videos. It's live, engaging, interactive. You can ask questions during the workshop. And Margaret, do you want to talk a little bit about Verity's experience and her expertise?
Yes, well, I think we're very privileged to have her join us because Verity's actually been selling on Amazon, I think about nearly 10 years now, and she did a very successful start. I think she sold out her products in the first few days with her first product. And since then, she's gone into working for an agency here and helping just hundreds and hundreds of people get their Amazon accounts up and running. And like she knows the good things about listings. She's seen the images that work, the images that don't work, the listings that work. She knows how to troubleshoot so much. So the information she can give out is just gold because, I mean, if you don't have your listing optimized, you're not going to get anywhere. And in all honesty, I launched my product right before Christmas and it was so expensive to run PPC, I hardly used any. And without having the PPC, but having my listing really well optimized, I'd spent a lot of time and effort making sure everything was done, and I had the EBC done. I had everything I could possibly do. I got to page 1 and 2 within a couple of weeks. So I think that's the important thing, that people realize if you take a little bit more effort and listen to what Verity tells you and teaches you how to optimize your images, your listing, your back end, you can save a lot on launching because it'll help you get to the top. Because if you've got a poor listing, you can spend hundreds and thousands on PPC. It's not going to help you because it's not optimized to continue. So I think that's going to be a great course for anyone who's, look, even if you're selling, you might have 1 or 2 products up. I think you can always learn to look and tweak your listing because it's not set and forget. You need to keep working on it. And I think a lot of people have probably started off thinking they've got a really good listing, but maybe after they watch, Verity's course, they'll realize there's a lot of improvement to make.
Right.
So,
And we also have an exclusive Telegram group, right, Kevin? Do you want to tell people about that?
Yeah, well, because the Telegram group is sort of really interactive. So once people decide on the course, they can join the Telegram group, and obviously questions will be firing backwards and forwards. I believe in your boot camp you have a very successful Telegram group there, and people. I've heard comments of people say it's fantastic to get the feedback and also to be interactive. And I believe Verity, even after a week after, she'll still be up to answer questions for anybody that wants to know.
Yeah, I think that's a huge advantage of this kind of a workshop. One, it's live, so you can ask your specific questions. And Verity is also going to be doing some listing reviews. So if you have a listing that you want Verity to review, live, she'll be able to do that as well. And the Telegram group is absolutely amazing. And Kevin, you're right. We've done 3 bootcamp editions so far. And one of the best things that people like about the bootcamp is the interactivity, the engagement, and answering questions. And of course, in the Telegram group, even the first bootcamp that we did in September of last year, there's still engagement going on in that group, and people are talking about sharing information and helping each other. So yeah, I think that's like really amazing, the Telegram group. Okay, guys, so check out the workshop. It's at the asianseller.com listing slash dash workshop, and yeah, you're going to love this format, and the content is absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's move on and invite our friend Gary Huang on stage. Hello, Gary.
Hey guys,
Hi,
hi
Gary.
Megla.
Hello,
Hi Mark.
Gary. Great
Hi,
to
Kevin.
see you again, Gary.
Great to be back. Great to see
Yeah,
everyone.
great to see you, Gary. So you are in Japan, aren't you?
Correct. Yeah, we've been here in Japan almost 1 year now, my family and I.
Oh,
Oh, cool, awesome. So Gary, before we start talking about some of the points that you've got for us regarding Amazon exit strategy, do you want to give a bit of background about yourself and tell people how you help Amazon sellers and what is your superpower?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm a seller myself. So about 3 years ago in 2018, my wife and I were pregnant with our first child. And previous to that, I would always go to Amazon conferences, events, including the excellent Global Sources Summit that Megla has organized. I always learn so much. And one of the things I really enjoyed not only is like learning from other sellers, but also like surrounding myself with other like-minded entrepreneurs. I met a lot of really cool people, good friends in the e-commerce world. But my wife and I were pregnant, and we were like 8 months pregnant, and I was grounded. I couldn't board that flight to Hong Kong anymore. This was 2018. Okay, so that's why I thought, why not invite these 7-figure sellers to teach me online and to teach everyone else online? So that was kind of like the birth, or like the genesis of 7-figure seller summit, which we launched in August of 2018. So fast forward to today, we've already launched 3 summits, and then we have our 4th summit coming up in just a few weeks, February 8th. And I think what makes us different is, it's by sellers for sellers. I've spent years in e-commerce. I'm still selling on Amazon, and I try to find really awesome speakers like Megla and a lot of other speakers that are actually doing it. They're not just like gurus, quote unquote. And other than that, we've been voted favorite Amazon conference / event by Seller Poll last year, so we're super grateful for that. We have a very great enthusiastic audience that we try to help them scale their business to 7 figures. And yeah, I think that's a quick overview about 7-figure seller summit.
Okay, awesome. Sounds great. So, okay, Gary, let's talk about Amazon exit strategy. So it's over to you. What do you want to talk about first?
Absolutely. So right now, I mean, if I know like a lot of Amazon sellers, a lot of e-commerce experts, they're running their business. It's like cash flow business, but at the same time, there's a great opportunity right now, especially in 2021, to sell your business, because there's a lot of quote unquote smart money that's going into this whole Amazon business ecosystem. So I thought today we could share an Amazon exit strategy. Whether you're a 7-figure seller already, you're maybe thinking about that exit, or if you're somewhere in between, if you're scaling your business, or even starting out, it makes sense to plan ahead, because you got to have a good 12-month, 24-month track record for you to really position yourself and maximize your selling price. So I've interviewed like a dozen different 7-figure sellers over the years. So I collected a lot of these best practices, mistakes they've made. So I'd love to share that with you guys today.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, so I think probably one of the top questions is, why do people want to sell their Amazon business, right? It's like a golden goose, for some people, right? Every month you get the sale, you get the payment deposit from Amazon, it's all good, right? And then also, if we talked about selling an Amazon business like 5 years ago, people thought you were crazy, right? I mean, who in their right mind would buy an Amazon business, right? But now the state of the market is completely different. In 2020, during the pandemic, e-commerce just exploded. There was 5 years of growth in a matter of months on Amazon in 2020, and it's not going away anytime soon. I mean, even with the vaccines coming out, there's still a lot of uncertainty, and people are developing new habits to shop online. So you really see like a huge boom in e-commerce, and at the same time, the smart money, the institutional investors, they see this, right? They see the bricks and mortar shops shutting down, the shopping malls shutting down, like, big stores like Brooks Brothers, J.C. Penney, they're going bankrupt, right? But, people are flocking online. So in the last 12 months, $1 billion of capital has been raised for investing in Amazon business. And, big companies like Thrasio, they've raised like $500 million, and, they're really snatching up these businesses right now in 2021. So that's why I think if you're thinking about it, it makes a lot of sense to prepare, right? Because I think there's like 3 reasons to sell, based on the people that I've talked to, based on 7-figure sellers that exited, 6-figure sellers that exited. I've talked with Thrasio, and also I've spoken with brokers. So this is kind of like my overview from the different sides, if that sounds good to start out. And
yeah.
So I think the first reason is risk. Okay, it's because if you're doing well on Amazon, your Amazon business probably is your biggest asset, right? It's probably worth more than your car. It may be worth more than your house if you own property, right? So it's like a big amount. It could be substantial, right? And sure, you might have a nice cash flow, you're profitable, but it's very dangerous to put all your eggs in one basket. It's very risky, especially if that basket is controlled by Jeff Bezos, right? He's not a dumb guy, right? He's the richest man in the world. He owns all the customer data. We as Amazon sellers, it's very difficult to get the customer data, as he knows, okay? The other risky thing is, as everyone knows, the worst nightmare is you could get suspended anytime, any day for no reason, it seems, right? Even if you're doing everything white hat, I mean, stuff happens, right? So it could all go away anytime. It is risky, in my view, and in the view of a lot of 7-figure sellers. So by selling your business, you're taking the chips off the table, okay? You're getting that lump sum payment in your bank account. So that's like a peace of mind. I mean, I think people would sleep better at night, if they have that chance. So that's number one, risk. That's one reason sellers want to sell. Number 2 is money, okay? Both positive and negative parts of that, because running an inventory business takes money, right? You have to reinvest in the purchase orders. As you get bigger, it takes bigger and bigger investments to place those orders from your suppliers, right? Whether they're in India or China or wherever. So, talking to 7-figure sellers, one thing I've noticed is that once you cross that 7-figure annual sales mark, and then if you want to continue to grow it, it takes a lot more capital, a lot more money. So I was speaking with Lucy Sherman, and she's a 7-figure seller based in Australia, in Melbourne. Her and her business partner, they built their business over about a 4-year period with the intention to sell it from the beginning. And when they reached 7 figures, they sat down, they looked at the numbers, and then they said to double their business, they would have to invest a huge amount of upfront capital. Okay, so she and her partner, they weren't ready to do that. So they decided to go the exit route. So they decided to sell. Okay, so I mean, that's on the one hand with the money, right? On the other hand, with the money, it could be, if you sell it and then you cash out, it can be the largest income you ever make as a seller, okay? Even more than like the monthly Amazon payment, right? Even more than whatever salary that you pay yourself. It could be much more than that. And this is, this is something that was shared to me by 7-figure seller Kellyanne Fidio, based in California. She's a former attorney. She's a mompreneur, and then she sold her Amazon business. And she said that, it's like over 50% of your total like income from your business lifetime can come from that exit. So it could be, huge lucrative money for that respect. So that's reason number 2 why sellers are selling. And then reason number 3, I think is very interesting, is your life. Okay, it's your lifestyle. Because, as entrepreneurs, we have to think about our why, right? Why are we doing this? Why are we spending so much time, doing all the research, doing the sourcing, doing all the launch strategy, this, that, and the other thing? right? Listing optimization, what you guys were talking about, because it takes away time from your family, from your hobbies, your passion pursuits. So number three is life, right? You need to consider your family and your lifestyle. So some people, maybe they just want to cash out. They want to retire, right? I spoke with Chad McGilsey. He's a 7-figure seller based in the US in the pet niche. He exited for over 7 figures. And afterwards, he became a self-proclaimed unemployed millionaire, okay? So, I mean, it's lifestyle. I'm not going to judge anybody, but, that's what some people are looking for, right? And then other people like Ben Leonard, he's a 7-figure seller based in Scotland, and then he's the former owner of Beast Gear, which is an athletic gear company that he sold mainly on Amazon as well as off of Amazon. And then I asked him, why did you sell? He said it was a heart versus a head decision, like a heart versus head. Okay, he said his wife was pregnant, he had a young family, they wanted to move their home. Okay, and then he spoke with his dad, get some parental advice. Okay, I think not many young people today speak to their parents, looking for advice. But his dad said something that really stuck out to me. He shared. He said, "Sell your business at peak romance. Sell your business at peak romance." Okay, because afterwards it could either blow up or it could fail, but you get a bump at the earnout, okay? Because your business is like peak and it's super attractive, it's hot. We'll get into some reasons, some ways that you can make your business hot and ways to make it, to avoid so it's not, okay? But Ben's dad said, sell your business at peak romance, okay? And it could blow up, it could fail after that, but you will always be known as the person who founded it. Okay, people will always remember you, and you can use that. So afterwards, Ben, he launched a second brand. Okay, he's using all of his past knowledge, and then he also became a co-founder of a brokerage, Ecom Brokers. So he's helping other businesses position for an exit as well. So that's the third reason, lifestyle. So I think those are kind of the main reasons why people want to sell before we get into the strategy. What do you guys think? Any questions?
That sounds very appealing. I think, Kevin and Mark, you've been building your business for a couple of years now. Does any of that resonate with you? I mean, would you consider
of course,
selling your business for any of those?
Every business is always for sale. We've sold businesses before and built business, and always you start a business with the mindset of, one day you're going to be a big business that people might want to buy, and so you can retire gracefully, as Gary said. Interestingly enough, with Amazon, I've seen some great stories through Gary's, the stuff that Gary's put out. But some of the guys are relatively young too, and Gary made a good point there that they can go on and find, they founded their first business, and then they can go away and co-found another business in another channel, perhaps, and it's all about what you want to do with your life, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And do you find, Gary, that most people start out with the intention of selling their business, like when they're starting their Amazon business, or are there people who've started the business but then they've kind of stumbled upon the opportunity and their business has just become sellable or marketable along the way?
Yeah, it's mixed. Some people like Lucy Sherman from Australia, her and her business partner, they came in from a fashion wholesale business background. So they already kind of had some business, entrepreneurship experience. So they came in from the beginning with intent to sell. Okay, but other people like Ben Leonard from UK, he really loved his business and he was involved with his business. Like he literally put his face on the brand. He reached out to people over social media. Like he created videos with himself saying, "Hey, we're a small family business," and it was a really tough decision for him because he really wanted to grow it. But I mean, sometimes it's life, right? I mean, he was starting a family, and by selling it doesn't mean like you're out forever, right? He's working on a second brand. I mean, obviously he has non-competes. He can't, create a second athletic wear brand to compete with his former business, right? But he's still, I mean, it's not the end of the journey, right? I mean, you can still go. So it's mixed. I would say most people don't necessarily have that intention from day one. That's why I think today's session could be interesting because maybe we can plant the seed in you so you can prepare in advance. So maybe you can add, an extra zero to your bottom line once you exit.
Yeah, I think it's important to do that now, right? I mean, consciously build that sort of a business that's marketable. Yeah, Mark.
And I just sort of think if you're, got a business and you've worked on it for, 1 or 2 years, I mean, even if it's not doing millions, even if you can get yourself $100,000 and sell it and start another brand, I mean, not everyone wants to be the big millionaire type seller. So I think some people can, stop and think, oh, well, maybe I will sell this brand and I might, they've got maybe starting a second brand and moving forward and getting some cash out. And I suppose lessening their risk, instead of having 2 or 3 brands running, they can get rid of one and just keep another one. So I think it's not just for, like 7-figure sellers plus. I think people because there are still people around at the moment, like retirees in the US or something, who are looking for a smaller business to put some of their money into that's sort of already developed and that they can still manage, that, it's not, if you've never sold on Amazon, to go in and buy a, multi-million-dollar Amazon business is probably a bit hard for somebody to manage as well. So it's got to be bought by the right people. So I think there's, horses for courses in this. There's, a sale for, I mean, I'm not saying every single business, but for a lot of businesses that have got a bit of selling history with it, well, profitability mainly, more than selling history, I think.
Yeah, and Marge is exactly right. There is a group of investors out there, exactly what Marge described. Like in this stage, we call them like baby boomers. People that they may be retired, but they're looking at investment vehicles, besides the traditional ones. And maybe they want to get their feet wet. They want to get into this. They like this. So definitely, that's part of the buyer market. It's not just the huge players like Thrasio, right? There's like smaller investors as well. So. Yeah. Should we get into the strategy, Megla?
Yeah, let's do that. But before that, I just want to remind people to ask their questions. So guys watching, if you have any questions, type them in the comments and we'll ask Gary to address those questions. Also, can I remind you, if you are watching from inside of our Facebook group, then please go to this URL, streamyard.com/Facebook, and give StreamYard access to your profile so that we can see your name over here. Otherwise, we'll just see Facebook user. So somebody's joining in from sunny Melbourne, and somebody else says hello, everyone. And feel free to type in your comments, and if you have any questions or any comments about what Gary is talking about over here, type them in the comment section. Okay, Gary. So what's next?
Excellent. So I think an interesting way to share the strategy is to go with what they say, like that website, right? Hot or not, right? I don't know if people remember that website, or literally you're like ranking if like this girl or this guy is hot or not, right? You say hot or not. Yeah. So I similarly, in terms of Amazon business, like from the eyes of a buyer's perspective, right? I'd like to share, based on my speaking with 7-figure sellers, what's hot for the buyer in terms of Amazon business and what's not. Okay, so what you should be doing and what you should not be doing to maximize your exit strategy and your selling price. Okay, so let's start with hot. So what makes a business hot to buyers? And if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm happy to get to them best I can. Okay, so I have 5 best practices, what makes a business hot to buyers. Okay, and number 1 is knowing your numbers. Okay, knowing your numbers, having a clear profit and loss statement from the start. Okay, having good records, even your import records, like from your customs duties, from your first import shipment, all of your invoices, all of your expenses, all of this, and also having a proper business structure, completely knowing your numbers, right? I think it reminds me of that quote by Peter Drucker, right? The very well-renowned business management expert. He said, whatever gets measured gets managed. Okay, so the same rule applies here. Having clear numbers, having clear P&L, knowing if you're profitable or not, right? This will definitely help position your business for an exit, because you can look at the numbers and because your exit is based on your profits, Okay, it's not based on your top line revenue if you're a 7-figure seller or even if you're a 6-figure. It's based on your profitability. Okay, so you really have to know your numbers. I would say that's the base point, number one. Okay, that's kind of like the foundation of the house that you're building. Okay, if you don't know your numbers, you're on like a swamp. The whole thing could collapse. It's like a house of cards. Okay, so that's super important, knowing your numbers from the start. Okay, that's number one. Number two is having solid profit margins. Okay, so again, the exit, the amount is based on your profits. Okay, buyers like to see a margin of 30% or more profit. Okay, this is based on the sellers I've spoken with. This is based on the brokers I've spoken with. That seems to be a benchmark now. So 30% profit margins, buyers like to see that. If it's very thin, it might not, it could be like, even if you're selling a lot of volume, it could be a low selling price because you don't have much profitability. Okay. Number three is having a brand. Okay. By a brand, I don't mean just, slapping a label on your Me Too product. Okay. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. Okay. So a couple of things about a brand. Number one is having a portfolio of products that can complement each other, right? So these products are targeting a common target audience, like a target customer. Okay, so this way you can cross-sell them, you can upsell them, you can get a higher order value, and then you can plan out your future products. All right, so having a brand portfolio of products that are related to a common customer and they can complement each other. Okay, in addition to having, to build out your brand, it's very important to have a community of raving fans. Okay, buyers really drool after that because they can instantly go into a new market segment of the market they may not be in already if you have a community of raving fans. What do I mean? It could be an email list. It could be a Facebook Messenger list. It could be an Instagram, following. Okay, it's just people that really resonate with your brand that you can market to. You can launch new products to. You can get feedback from on like new products. You can get reviews from. Right, completely TOS compliant. I mean, obviously not incentivized reviews, but you can ask them to leave reviews. Okay, so having a community of raving fans, for your brand. So having a brand is very important. Okay, so if you think about it from the buyer's perspective, like I remember that story of like Dollar Shave Club. Do you guys remember Dollar Shave Club?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had the really over the top, like the commercials, the YouTube videos, and they really built a huge following online, right? And then they were acquired by one of the big multinational corporations. I think it was like Procter and Gamble, because Dollar Shave Club really resonated with like young people, right? Millennials, guys, whereas like the old, the corporate guys, they resonated with, more like mature, like middle-aged people, right? But they were really hurting in that segment. So by acquiring Dollar Shave Club, for a huge amount of money, they instantly were able to, buy into that audience because they had a brand, right? They had the raving fans. All right. So similarly, if you want to sell business, having a brand, that could be really hot for a buyer if you have that, the portfolio, the community of raving fans. All right. And then the fourth thing is having an established track record of consistent sales. Okay, you're not just like 3 months you're doing well. Okay, I was speaking with Alison Walker. She's an accountant and she's the co-founder of Ecom Brokers, based in Scotland. And then she says that buyers like to see 2 years of solid sales history. Okay, 2 years is preferred and 12 months at the minimum. Okay, so they want that track record. They don't want just like an overnight, like a one-hit wonder overnight sensation. Okay, and then according to my other sources, a 1 year track record is like the absolute minimum, 12 months. Okay, 2 years or more is preferred. Okay, so buyers like that. And number 5 is diversification. Okay, especially sales diversification. It's very risky if you have 100% of your sales in the Amazon marketplace, right? It could all go away. It's very risky. And according to the 7-figure sellers I've spoken with, and also to brokers, they like to see at least 30% of your sales off of Amazon, okay, for diversification. That could be Shopify, that could be or even international marketplaces. So let's say you have, most of your sales in Amazon US, if you have 30% or more in Amazon EU, Okay, that's diversification as well, but at least 30%. Okay, so these are the top 5 things that I'm seeing right now that makes a business hot to buyers. Any questions or any feedback on that, guys?
I'm muted. Yeah. So I think those are really good. And let me just kind of recap. I've taken some notes here. So number 1 is knowing your numbers. And then number 2 is at least 30% profit margin, right? And then have a brand portfolio of products and also a community, whether it's on social media or emails. Number 4, have a track record of consistent sales. 2 years is preferred, 1 year minimum. And number 5, diversification, especially of sales, and 30% of sales off of Amazon. So that's just kind of summarizing.
Wow,
Yeah.
Megala, you're so organized.
Cheers, there she goes again.
Yeah.
Gary, this might seem a little bit, I don't know, but is there any particular type sort of products that, I mean, is it like sports? Is it toys? Is it?
Yeah. A couple of categories stood out, and I think it's in line with our post-COVID lifestyle. I don't mean to sound like morbid, but athletics, like working out, because people are trying to stay fit at home. That's one category that we see a lot of interest in. And Ben Leonard, 7-figure seller based in Scotland, his brand within that. He's transparent about his brand. It's called Beast Gear. They were acquired by one of the large companies, and I think another category is in the baby category. That one is hot, and some cold categories are like fashion, like clothing, because clothing and fashion has seen a overall decline in the recent past couple of years, and I think electronics is another cold category because the margins are very thin. Okay, because think about the computers, like they go obsolete in like a year, right? So the margins are very thin. So that's what I would say. But that's a really good question, Kevin.
What about the kinds of products that we can source from India? Like home products, gift items, home decor items, health and wellness. Fabric-based products.
Yeah, I believe that. I know that one of the hot categories right now is like in the home, right? Home improvement, because we're stuck at home, right? We're stuck at home. We're with our kids. School, like Zoom school, right? So people want to be comfortable. They want to, they're making investments in their home. So I think a lot of stuff that we saw in the sourcing trip, the fair, a lot of stuff was for the home, right? Like the wooden products, like the lighting fixtures, right? They had the whole hall of lighting fixtures, like stuff that you see at the lighting fixture stores, back home, right, in the States or in Australia. I think those are 2 categories that we're seeing right now. There's a lot of interest, and it's in line with the trend. These categories are going up. Home improvement, and also out. Like your home, like your backyard and gardening and stuff like that, because that's kind of like an escape, right? It's an escape from all the negativity, the stuff on the news. People are like going back to nature, right? So I think there's interest there, but yeah, that's what I'm seeing in terms of the trends.
Right. And talking about having a brand and sort of branding of your products, so is it really necessary to have a portfolio or a range of products or a niche that you focus on? Because a lot of people are successful with, like maybe one specific product in one category, and then they find another product in another category, and they're kind of not necessarily in a specific niche. So maybe they have like a candle holder that's doing really well, and then they maybe find like a bedspread.
That's a really good question, Megala. And speaking with these people that have exited and also the buyers, they don't really like to see what we call like a hero product and then just like some minions, right? Okay. They don't want to see one product, like what you said, that one candle holder that's doing like 95% of your sales, and you have like 10 other products that are just getting like 1 sale a day. I mean, that's not really a brand. I mean, of course, there might be interest, but if you think of the multiplier, it would decrease your multiplier. If you have a brand that has raving fans, that, you know, the portfolio makes sense, right? You know, think of Dollar Shave Club and, you know, Procter and Gamble. They could just plug and play, right? You know, they have, oh, like, you know, they have this razor, they have the blades, they have, you know, all this stuff that, you know, they can upsell, they can cross sell, they can increase the lifetime value, because these are very savvy. You know, if we're talking about like Thrastio, these guys are like, you know, they hire best in class, like, you know, like supply chain experts, right? You know, listing optimizations, you know, they really add a ton of value, because if you put yourself in their shoes, what do they want to do? They probably want to, you know, add value to your business, like, you know, get every drop of the juice out of this orange, and then they're going to flip it for an even bigger multiple, right? That's their game plan. So, so yeah, you can still do that, but it just affects your multiple. It won't be as high.
Okay. So of all the five, you know, points that you mentioned, what do you think is the number one thing that really affects the multiple? So you had knowing your numbers, profit margin, brand, track record of consistent sales, and diversification.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you got to know your numbers. I mean, I'm guilty of this. You know, I don't, sometimes, you know, I'm so busy with all these other things, but you got to know like where you're going, right? And, you know, a lot of times sellers will be selling a product, but it could even be in the red, you know. And if I know, you know, there's 7-figure sellers that are in the red. You know, the top line figure is just like a vanity figure. You got to look at the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
If it's in the red, there's no way you can sell it. Nobody would buy that, you know. So you really got to know your numbers from the start. It's not as sexy as building a brand, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you got to look at the numbers, right? I mean, hire a bookkeeper, you know, talk to your accountant, you know, do that review. You know, the first year I sold internationally, at the end of the year, you know, I had my accountant go through my books. I learned that we spent an extra like tens of thousands of dollars in like international Amazon currency exchange fees, because, you know, we didn't go with a third party. We just used Amazon's default currency exchange, and we paid 3.9%. I mean, if you go with like a third party, like, you know, someone like a Ping Pong Payments, you know, they only charge 1% against Amazon's 3.9. You're saving almost 3%. You know, over a 6-figure business, that's like thousands or tens of thousands of dollars over the year, right? If you don't even know your numbers, if I didn't check that, I would still be paying. You know, it's like all that, I'm bleeding money, right? So I would say that's number one, knowing your numbers.
You've always got to keep an open mind, Gary, when it's you know, sort of with business, because things do change a lot.
Yeah.
And I know previous businesses that myself and Mark have been involved in, where you know, always sort of numbers based sort of business, and Margaret's very good with business with numbers. But you know, everything comes down to, you know, if you get a discount on affiliates or whatever, that's all comes into play with your business, you know. And if you're not sort of on top of you know, how many refunds you get versus what, you know, sort of what's going out the door, what you can, you know, get back through your supplier, etc., etc., etc. You know, you're leaving money on the table anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
One thing I think that a lot of people fall foul of, because there's all these great profitability calculators with Amazon or Helium 10, they've all got them. And at the bottom you look down and it says, oh, you can make $40 or $30 here, but nobody really understands that that doesn't include your PPC and all your other costs. And I think so many people say to me, oh, I'm making 35%. And I go, oh, yeah, but how much are you spending on PPC? Oh, I'm not too sure. And I think that's the biggest downfall with a lot of newer Amazon sellers or people who don't understand figures, that they look at that and believe that they're making that 30 or 40%, when in fact it's probably 10% or something, depending on their advertising. I mean, if you're, you know, doing multiple, you know, advertising streams and all that, and none of that's included, you know, plus all your other third party. Now the biggest other outgoing that I think people are losing track of is their third party logistics and the cost of getting that freight from the warehouses into Amazon, because that's a big cost that's thrown back onto our sellers by Amazon, because, you know, we're bearing all those. So, and none of those are in those profitability calculators. I mean, they can never put them in because, you know, they can't tell how much people are going to spend on those things. So it's something that people need to really, really look at, because they're not going to have a business making 30% if they don't take that into account.
Yeah, really good point, Kevin and Marge. I agree because most of those online calculators, whether it's like Amazon's FBA calculator or Helium 10 or Jungle Scout, that's only like part of the puzzle because you're not looking at PPC, you're not looking at your 3PL costs, you're not looking at your Facebook ads, right? It could be so much more. That's why these sellers, these brokers, they all say you got to have a profit and loss for your entire business so you can see the complete picture, right? So yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's super critical. Yeah.
So Gary, does location of the business matter? So let's say there's a seller based in, Singapore, but they're still selling on Amazon US and that's their main market, but their company is based out of Singapore, let's say. Does that really
Do you mean
matter?
the company is registered there, or are they just
Yes,
like
yes. No, the company is
that's
registered here.
okay. That's a good question. I know that U.S. businesses, there's a lot of transaction activity. Recently in Europe, there's been a lot, like a flurry of deals just in the past couple months. Companies like Thrasio, they're really making like a big splash right now. For Singapore, I'm not sure. I can't give you a firm answer on that. If anybody in the community knows, or if anyone has any like real experience, that would be helpful. I do know one of our friends had a Hong Kong-based business that he exited several years ago. He's a six-figure seller. We featured him on last year's
Peter.
summit.
Peter
Peter
Luxembourg.
Luxembourg. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had a Hong Kong business. So he was able to exit. So I know
Yeah.
Hong Kong and Singapore, they're completely different, but I mean, regionally they're in Asia. I don't think if it's a solid business, I don't think people are just going to totally disregard you, right? But
Right.
yeah, I'm not sure. I can't say for sure.
And we know Australian people that have exited too.
Yeah. We had one of our speakers, Lucy Sherman, and her partner. They're based in Melbourne. They're an Australian business that exited.
But I think if you've got an Australian company, it's a little bit more difficult because obviously an American doesn't want to buy an Australian company, but you can actually just sell the brand and maintain your company, I believe. So they can, because your brand can get transferred. If somebody's already got some accounts open with Amazon, they can transfer that brand into their US company. Being, because I mean, nobody will, vice versa. I wouldn't want to buy an American company if I lived in Australia, more than likely. It's, it's a lot more difficult. So I think, that's maybe one thing if you're really, really keen to go to the expense, maybe of having an LLC, when you're based out of the US, if it's your big game plan. But then I know people that have sold without them. So,
Yeah. So when you're selling, are you actually selling your company or are you just selling your brand and all of the brand assets, or are you just selling a listing? I mean, is that even possible? Can you just sell, maybe if you have like 5 listings of a product, is that even possible? Did you just sell the listings?
Yeah. So based on the 7-figure sellers I've spoken with, normally it's a transfer of assets. So that includes all of the inventory, includes the Amazon, all the listings. Basically, you're transferring the account to them. You have to get prior permission from Amazon. You have to make sure to let them know we're going to be changing our bank account. Is this okay? Get that approval from them in writing first. You can't just like sell it and then change the account. Your account may be flagged or even shut down. Okay, so normally that's how it works. I also interviewed Mike Jackness. He exited his brand Colorit several years ago. And then he said that one of his biggest mistakes is that he did not separate all of his different brands because he runs multiple 7-figure brands, right? He didn't separate his multiple brands into separate LLCs and separate Amazon accounts. So that mistake cost him a lot of money on his multiple. Okay, and also it cost him a lot of time because as he was going through the due diligence, he realized he had to separate them. So he had to file a new LLC, he had to transfer all the listings. It was like huge time suck. It cost him a lot of time and money. So it makes sense to definitely have the proper business structure. Separate your brands into different Amazon accounts and also different Amazon LLCs. And with the Amazon accounts, you have to get Amazon's permission first. You can't just like create multiple accounts. Otherwise, that's a no-no in Jeff Bezos' book.
So Gary, say I was a 7 or 8 figure seller and I've got multiple sort of brands. is there someone I can actually go to and say, hey, what's the best way for me to exit and which way? You know what I mean? I've set my business up, I've got everything ready, but is it all ready?
Yeah.
Am I doing have I split the right structure? Am I going, with the right exit strategy? Is there
Yeah.
someone
Well,
you can get that advice from?
yeah, definitely. I mean, there's brokerages out there.
Yeah.
We interviewed Alison Walker. She's a co-founder of Econ Brokers. They're based in Scotland, and
Yeah.
she's an accountant, by training as well. So I think she definitely, she can help out if you guys are interested. Econ Brokers, Alison Walker. I can share the URL with you guys afterwards and put that in the show notes. Or even just, you can set up a call with Thrasio. I mean, Thrasio, they said they kind of have like a come as you are type of mentality. With the summit, the Seven Figure Seller Summit, Thrasio is a sponsor. Then they were generous to offer a free consultation for any sellers that are interested. There's no commitment. You're not like, saying, oh, there's no strings attached. But I mean, it might be worth it just to get some to get smart about this, right? To see what they think.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Do
and
it the right way, and
yeah,
exit the right way, and get as much as you possibly can from the deal.
exactly, because it's a hot marketplace right now. We see the
Yeah.
news, right? I mean, companies like Thrasio, they're a unicorn. They raised $1 billion. Their only business is acquiring Amazon businesses. That's, I mean, that it's
Amazing.
yeah, it is
Huge opportunity for Amazon sellers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
definitely.
So yeah, guys watching, if you have any questions, type them in the chat box now so that we can ask Gary. So Gary, what else did you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think on the flip side, right? I mean, we talked about what's hot, but let's talk about what's not hot, right? What's not
Yeah.
to buyers. Okay. So a couple of things. One thing we actually touched upon, Megla asked a very good question. Just like one hero product, can we sell that? That's not hot to buyers. Again, I mean, it's risky to them. If that product fails, it's not a real brand, right? You don't necessarily have the portfolio of products to complement. It's just, it could be a one-hit wonder. So that's a little risky. Okay, that's not hot in the eyes of buyers. Number two is products with a lot of seasonality. Maybe it's like a Halloween costume type business. It only spikes that one time of year. That's not as hot because you don't have like the more consistent sales all year round. So these type of seasonality products aren't as hot. And then number three, and probably the biggest thing, is black hat tactics. Okay, black hats. So I know this is a very controversial topic. There's a lot of stuff out there, right? I'm not going to get into the details. I think everybody has heard of them. From the buyer's perspective, I mean, these are like professional investors, or they could be like retiree baby boomer that's investing their money. This really isn't a sustainable business model, from the buyer's perspective. It's extremely risky. Okay, if you get caught and their account gets shut down, that's not going to be good for anybody. And so the buyers really frown upon this. If you're engaging in a lot of this black hat, anti-Amazon terms of service type of tactics, and then all the sellers that I spoke with, I mean, they were self-proclaimed white hat sellers. I don't have any reason to doubt them. I mean, just based on the strategies and the nuances they shared, right? So black hat tactics, that would be the third one. So again, number one is not hot. Hero products, yeah, no one hero product surrounded by minions. Okay, two seasonal products, not hot. Number three is black hat tactics. Yeah, not hot. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So I guess a lot of the sellers who are doing black hat. I was going to name the country, but then I thought better not to.
Yeah. I mean, it's not limited to that country. I mean, that's a
exactly.
reputation, but I mean, it's like anywhere in the world. There's white hat. There's like, you know what I mean, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so no black hat if you want to sell your business. That's for sure.
Yeah. If you want to be attractive to a buyer, I mean.
Yes, exactly. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what kind of multiples are we looking at, Gary, over here in terms of the price that these companies can quote? I mean, what does it start with and how high does it go?
Yeah. From the buyers I spoke with, it could be 3x multiple to 4x. That's like EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization. So it could be 3 to 5. It could be lower depending on your profitability, depending on your diversification, depending on your list size, depending on if all your eggs are in one basket on Amazon. But and also depending on all those factors we talked about, like your track record, right? So yeah, and also your business structure. So roughly that range, but it really, I mean, it's like a case by case basis.
It starts at around 3 to 4x,
Yeah,
and this
three
is
to four. It could be
annual profit.
2.5x.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that's really got to be your net profit. So people who are listening don't think that that's 3 times your turnover. If you're turning over 500,000 and you're making $100,000, it's 3 times that 100,000 after all those costs that we were just talking about, like your PPC. So basically, your bottom line of what you could withdraw into your other business, or as a salary or whatever you wanted to do. So it's
yeah.
not what you're turning over; it's your net profit at the end of the day.
Exactly. And also, one other thing to add back could be what they call seller discretionary expenses, or SDE. So this could be, the salary you pay yourself, right, as a seller. It could be other things like your travel, your computer, or whatever investments you've made. You can add that back into the bottom line. But I'm not an accountant, but that's on a big picture. I think Marge actually knows more about the numbers than me. But from what I've gleaned, yeah, in my research, that's what we're seeing. So again, like 3 to 4x multiple. Again, depending on all those factors we talked about. I mean, you have high margins above 30%. That will bump it up. If you have a brand portfolio, the email list community of raving fans, that would bump it up. Longer track record, 24 months, not just 9 or 12 months. That would bump it up. Diversification, that would bump it up. I'm having clear numbers. One other thing, very interesting, as of right now, because of the COVID spike. Okay, in the past 12 months, many people have told me this. The buyers aren't stupid. Okay, I mean, the COVID spike, there was a huge spike, last year in spring, a couple months, right? And a lot of things, they're going to take that into consideration. They're not just going to blindly give you that, 5x multiple on profits just because of that. Okay, so be prepared. These are savvy business people. They're not like, they weren't born yesterday.
Absolutely. So that was very interesting, Gary. And did you have anything else to add before we start wrapping up over here?
Yeah, maybe some common mistakes that we can share. I think that could prevent some pitfalls. Does that sound
Absolutely.
cool?
Yeah.
Okay. So common mistakes that people make. Number one is lying. Buyers, these people, they know how to do due diligence. Okay, and then according to Thrasio, Seller Central, that's the single source of truth. Okay, the buyers are not dumb. Okay, so trying to lie about anything, that's a no-no. Okay, common mistake. They're very quick to discover this. Okay, they have very sophisticated financial teams behind them. So that's one. Number two is hiding anything. Okay, try to, you're gonna, I mean, you're gonna be talking to these people for like some time. Okay, it's not like a simple one and done process. So if you're trying to hide anything, like any black hat tactics, if you're using like a ton of rebates to get reviews or insert cards that are not Amazon terms of service compliant, okay, don't hide that, because people don't like surprises. Okay. The third common mistake is not getting your business structure in place. So we covered a little bit about this earlier. Mike Jackness, he's one of my friends in the e-commerce world. He's very knowledgeable about e-commerce, but he was super transparent. That was one of the mistakes that he admitted. He didn't separate his multiple brands into separate LLCs. Took him, his team, a ton of time, hurt him in his multiple. Okay, so you were asking about the multiples, right? So this one mistake really hurt Mike in his multiple. He probably could have gotten like tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars more if he had separated his LLCs. Also, get your tax structure right, depending on which country you are. Talk to your accountant for advice. Okay, so that could help get you more money. Okay, So these are some of the mistakes that I see. And then also I had some quick best practices to share if we still have time.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, one of the things is best practice if you want to sell is mentally be prepared for a lot of work. Okay, due diligence, going through that whole vetting process that they're gonna do on your business. People say it's like climbing a mountain. Okay, Lucy Sherman, seven-figure seller, she said that literally they asked for like all of the import duties. They had to go back to the first shipment and the customs duty from like 4 years ago. Okay, they literally had to like have all of that paper trail. Okay. And also these buyers, they'll ask you to fill out like a 13-page marketing questionnaire, a 10-page operations questionnaire. It's almost like a full-time job while you're running your Amazon or e-com business. Okay, so just be prepared. It's a lot of work. And then number 2 is negotiations. Okay, as you're negotiating with the buyer, don't be afraid to push back. Okay, again, Lucy Sherman offers some really good advice. She said that the first time they give you that number, it's a huge number. Okay, you probably never had anybody offer you that much money before. I don't know, maybe some of you guys watching have already done this, but I mean like people like us, like me, I may be intimidated by this number. Okay, a lot of sellers get intimidated, but don't take the first offer. That's what she said. You got to push back. Okay, you got to make a counter offer. All right, don't be afraid to push back. Right. So make sure to negotiate, and it might make sense to ask around. Right. I mean, don't just talk to one acquirer. Maybe talk to a different broker. Right. Ask around. So I think that's just a common negotiations best practice. I mean, even if you're sourcing from India, same thing. Right. I mean, I'm not going to take the first offer from the supplier. I mean, they expect you to negotiate. Right. If you don't negotiate, you're going to look like a newbie. Right. So I hope this helps, guys, with these best practices to help you guys exit your businesses.
Great advice.
Yeah, that's great advice.
I think people, need to understand that, you've got to, it's a lot of preparation to sell a business. You even prepare your car. If you can sell a car, don't you prepare your car for sale?
Yeah.
You don't say, hey, I'm selling my car. You give them a wash, you clean the wheels, you make the dashboard shiny, to get the extra dollars when someone comes to view. So
right, you gotta put in the air freshener, you get that new car smell. Right?
So same with your business, do it the right way. But I mean, if you've got all the relevant documentation and you're making it all look shiny,
exactly.
It's worth more dollars.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you got to be prepared. I mean, it is a lot of work, while you're running the business. So it makes sense to get started right now. If you are considering this as your end game to sell your business, put together the profit and loss. Talk to your bookkeeper, right? Your numbers, right? So yeah, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, these are just my personal takeaways about how to sell your Amazon business and exit strategy for 2021, but. If people want to check out the full sessions, Megala, is it okay if we can talk a little bit about that?
Yes, let's do that, Gary.
Yeah, so I interviewed over 30 seven-figure sellers, Amazon sellers, and e-commerce experts at the Seven-Figure Seller Summit. And day 5 is all about exits, right? Preparing your business for exit. I interviewed actual sellers that have sold their businesses, people like Ben Leonard in the UK who exited his business, people like Lucy in Australia. I interviewed Thrasio, they're the biggest buyer. They said, these are the questions you should ask before you sign that letter of intent. Okay. And I also interviewed, brokers, right? They see both sides of the story. So they really tell you how you can prepare. So, if you want to learn more, feel free to check out the Seven-Figure Seller Summit, and Megala put the URL there. You can get a free pass for a limited time. So I hope this helps you build your business, scale, and prepare for an exit. If you do exit, I would love to hear from you, to hear your story as well. All right. So good luck, guys. This has been great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Gary. And, just to point out, so this is the 4th time that you're doing this Seven-Figure Seller Summit, right? This is number 4. And I think what I really like about the summit is how, you personally do each and every interview. And you are there and asking questions, and there's more of a conversation. Of course, speakers do their presentations, but I really like how you yourself, are there and ask questions and make it a bit more interactive, and you know the right questions to ask because you're a seller yourself, and that makes it even more valuable for people. So yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And I do put a lot of time into preparation, right? Selecting the right speakers, making sure, they have something to offer that would help you guys and to help me as well. So I'm kind of scratching my own itch, but I'm trying to help as many e-commerce sellers as I can out there. I know it's tough times for a lot of people, given what the situation is. Maybe you don't want to risk yourself. You're on the front line. You want to create an Amazon business so you don't have to risk your family, right? I think right now it's a huge opportunity in 2021. So that's one of the reasons why I did it. Megla also gave a really great training on sourcing from India, the common mistakes, what not to do. So I highly encourage you guys to check out the session that Megla will be giving. That will be on day 1, February 8th. And yeah, I'm super excited. I'd love to hear from what you guys, what you think.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
we always enjoy listening to you, Gary. We've been intrigued with you ever since we first met you in India. We know how
Is it my
know how you
my low
think.
pitched voice? Like
Yeah.
that's what you enjoy, just hearing it?
Yeah. Well, we know that you take the time and really sort of do all the hard yards and all the preparation. We know for sure, and so we always sort of we always follow you, Gary. You know that.
Well, thank you so much, guys. I mean, I really enjoyed meeting Megla, well, seeing Megla and meeting Kevin and Marge in India as well. And I know that you guys are the experts, the go-to people when it comes to sourcing from India. So definitely, I always try to, connect the right people and try to help as many people as I can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Peter is asking, I missed practically the entire webinar. Will you post a replay? So yes, Peter, we're ending the webinar now, and the replay should be available in the next 10 seconds on the same post. So if you just wait.
Let's get organized again.
So yeah, if you just refresh the page after we finish, you'll be able to watch the replay.
Yeah, we can go back in time at just a click of a button, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Easy.
Thanks everyone for your sharing and supporting our sellers. Oh, you're most welcome, Gurdeep. Okay, cool. So guys, check out 7-Figure Seller Summit by Gary and let us know what you think. Okay, thanks a lot, Gary, for your time today. And
Thank you.
Yeah, best of luck.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much.
Lovely to see you again, Gary. Take care of your family.
Bye.
Bye, guys.